Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative Highlighting Engineering and Technology Virtual College Fair. This session is all about Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items to note. First, if you have any questions at all, feel free to use the Q&A button to type in your questions to the presenters at any time. They are there, ready and available to answer your questions. Your camera and microphone are off. You are muted and your video is off. The panelists can't see or hear you. And there are more sessions happening, so feel free to sign up for more sessions where you register for this one. You can hear from many more college presenters about their school or even more sessions. And lastly, this recording will be available tomorrow at strivescan.com/CACHET. So without further ado, I'll get out of the way and introduce Sue Chapman from Rutgers University to kick it off.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Sue Chapman from Rutgers. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And we'll begin our presentation. Just one quick moment here. All righty. Hi, so again, I'm Sue Chapman from Rutgers University. I'm the regional recruiter for Northern California, and I'll be your main speaker today. I'm joined by my colleague, the regional recruiter from Southern California. Her name is Maria Sandone. Maria may come on camera later, but she will be definitely a big help to me today in terms of responding to Q&A that may come in while I'm giving a presentation, and we'll jointly respond to Q&A when my presentation is complete. So in terms of a quick agenda for our next 40-ish minutes together, I'll give a presentation of about 20 to 25 minutes. It's going to consist of a brief overview of Rutgers in general. I will be highlighting STEM-related programs. Again, feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A button. Maria will be making a judgment call based on what the nature of your question is, if she chooses to answer it right there, or she may choose to sort of hold that question, saying something like, Sue's going to talk about that in a minute, or, that's a popular question, let's hold that to the end. So I encourage you to be patient. If you don't receive an answer right when you ask the question, it's coming. So first, in the way of a general introduction to Rutgers, we are a very large public research university located on the East Coast. We have over 100 majors. Over 40 of those majors are STEM related. Our university has a 16-to-1 student faculty ratio and a 93% freshman retention rate, which says that of the freshmen that come to us, 93% of them are returning sophomore year. So we look at that as a measure of our, if you will, our customer satisfaction, our student satisfaction. We've got about 37,000 undergraduates. And even though we have over 100 majors and we're a big school, I do find that we seem to mostly be known for anything in the health sciences, engineering, and business. We're an historical institution. We were founded in 1766 as one of the 9 original colonial colleges. A little bit about student life. We are one of the most diverse universities in the United States. When you look at the population of our students in terms of where they're from, about 5,200 of our students are either international or come from out of state, that being outside the state of New Jersey. We do play in the Big Ten Athletic Conference with 24 NCAA Division I sports. Over 750 different student organizations, over 80 fraternities and sororities, very large, 150 plus programs in our travel study abroad program. So lots of different offerings for our large engaged student body. Location is a very important part of the Rutgers identity. We're located about 45 minutes from New York City by train, roughly an hour from Philadelphia also by train. Our campus has a train station right on it, and you can be from our campus to New York City Penn Station in about 45 minutes. So in terms of today's focus, kind of looking at STEM and STEM majors, New Jersey is home to 14 of the world's 20 largest pharmaceutical companies. It's also the 4th largest hub in the United States for biotechnology. We have over 130 different biotechnology companies. Nearly half of our nation's $30 billion private health research takes place in the state of New Jersey. So the reason I share all these things is to just highlight that by attending Rutgers, you are sort of immersing yourself in the center of a state that's already very active in the things that you've declared an interest in, because biotechnology, health research, and such. And this means great access to internships and jobs. So when a student thinks about being admitted to Rutgers, how our application process works is we admit students directly into schools. Students can apply to up to 3 of 7 schools that admit freshmen. And those 7 pennants that you see up here are the 7 different schools that take freshmen at Rutgers. I'll talk about some of them now. The School of Arts and Sciences is our largest school. It contains over 70 of our majors, and about 2/3 of Rutgers undergraduates are in the School of Arts and Sciences. Interestingly, STEM is not just found in one school at Rutgers, it's really sort of scattered all over. You will find STEM majors in 6 of our 7 schools. The only school at Rutgers that doesn't have any STEM majors is our Mason Gross School of the Arts, which is essentially our arts conservatory. We have a School of Pharmacy, which offers an accelerated 6-year pharmacy doctorate program. It's one of only about 12 programs like it in the United States. We have the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, which is a wonderful small school that's got a very experiential learning experience. Every single major in that school does have a hands-on component requirement in order to graduate. Our nursing program is small but mighty. It is a direct entry program, accepting students directly out of high school. And as for engineering, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about health sciences at Rutgers. First, I think it's important to sort of look at where we are and what's around us. So in the city of New Brunswick, a student who's studying something in the health professions is in a community that already has 2 hospitals in it. So for that student who wants to be able to volunteer or do an internship or do a little bit of floor time, again, 2 hospitals are right there close to campus. I already spoke a little bit in our location slide about the access to pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries. We have something called the Health Profession Office at Rutgers that provides for any student who's studying the health sciences. So for those of you out there that are thinking the word pre-med, know that you will take advantage of the services of this office. It is kind of like a specialized career counseling and career placement sort of place. They really provide invaluable support in terms of making suggestions for making your application to medical school as strong as possible, including being able to give you good leads and resources in terms of finding internships. So note too that in studying the health professions at Rutgers, you've got great breadth and depth of research opportunities available to you on and around campus. And last but not least, we do have 2 medical schools in the Rutgers system. So it's quite common for students to come to Rutgers undergraduate, indicating that they're pre-med. We have one of our medical schools right in New Brunswick where we're located, and the other is just up the road in Newark. So oftentimes the success of health science programs or pre-med programs is measured by the student admission rate into medical school. We're very proud of our admission rates into medical school. So as you may know, being admitted to medical school, it's very competitive. It's tough go. About 40% of the students apply nationally, about 42, 43% are admitted every year. Overall, our Rutgers average is about 50%. But if you drill down and look at those students that are most qualified, in other words, those that have a college GPA of say 3.65 or better, and an above average MCAT score, those students are being admitted to medical school 70% of the time. So again, we're very proud of the preparation that our students received, and that's shown by how well they're admitted into med school programs. So sometimes at a college fair, as Maria could attest, we're asked, oh, do you have any biology majors? Well, yes, we're a major health sciences university. And just sort of for grins, I put up this slide to help indicate to you just what comes to mind for me when a student asks me about biology. So, well, you know, yes, we do. We have several different ones. What are you interested in? I won't talk about all these majors, but again, I wanted to give you a feel for the breadth and depth. So now let's kind of move on and talk a little bit about the School of Engineering. That might be why some of you are here. So our School of Engineering is large. It's got about 4,000 undergraduate students in it. And the School of Engineering has a choice of 10 different majors. 8 of those majors have an option to stay on for a 5th year and get a bachelor's, master's, or a bachelor's and MBA combination. Double majoring for an engineer is challenging at Rutgers, but it is doable. Double majoring with something from our School of Arts and Sciences, in particular, is quite common for our engineers. There's no such thing as an engineering minor at Rutgers, and we're proud that 87% of our engineers are employed upon graduation. So here's just a quick look. I said we had 10 engineering majors. These are the engineering majors that we offer. I'll talk more in a moment about a few of them, but I want you to get a look at them. Now, again, for points of pride, we like to talk about the culture of the different schools and what it feels like to attend. And one thing that we hang our hat on in our School of Engineering is I talk a lot about diversity, and that's also gender diversity. So if you look into our School of Engineering, national average wise, about 22% of women are engineers, and our school, it's closer to 30%. It's about 29% women. And we do work very hard, not just to attract applicants who are young women, but also to retain them. And the kinds of things we do are varied, but a couple of examples. There's something we do with residence life called the Riley Douglas DELC. It's a special program offered through our Douglas Residential College, which is a special program for women. And it provides sort of a residential wing, if you will, of the engineering dorm that's just for women, so which is wonderful for study groups and such. And we also have a very active Society of Women Engineers with 250 members in the chapter. So a couple more things about the culture of the school, things that one doesn't always find in a typical School of Engineering. The style of instruction and sort of the message from the dean on down, it's very much about collaboration and not about competing with your classmates. So you will see a very heavy emphasis on teamwork and a very heavy emphasis on sort of reaching solutions and developing solutions as a team, rather than, people expected to be high flyers. And it's nice because it helps everyone really feel like part of the process and to participate in different level of different projects. Some projects they lead, some projects they assist, and really kind of learn to be sort of part of an engineering community. We are also proud that it's a very hands-on style of school. Engineers tend to be those who kind of want to get their hands in there, want to get their hands dirty. So 58% of our engineers do research or have an internship or co-op. We find that the research piece is a particular point of success, not just for engineers, but I'm talking about those right now, but for Rutgers students in general, because graduate school admissions committees, particularly medical school committees, are really looking for students who have done some sort of research as an undergraduate. And frankly, that isn't very easy to find. Most universities aren't sort of staffed to provide the level of support, faculty support necessary to engage the very youngest students in research activities. Rutgers is prepared to do that. That's how we're set up. It's part of our culture. Most of our students tell us upon graduation that they've done original research with professors, and engineers are certainly not only no exception to that, but even more so, more than 50%. So building, always building. In addition to sort of style of instruction, we're proud of new facilities, including a new engineering student project studio that's opening this year, and the Richard Weeks Hall, which is a classroom building that opened in 2018. So for those of you thinking about applying into School of Engineering, this is a good screen to sort of grab that screenshot of. It's a little bit of nitty-gritty stuff about what it takes to become an engineer at Rutgers. So at Rutgers, students apply to schools, as I mentioned, And the profile of students who are admitted to our School of Engineering for fall 2020, the middle 50% statistics are shown here. Now, let's remember, of course, we're test optional now, and will be test optional for the fall of 2022 as well. So while the SAT number, may tweak around a little bit, I think you'll continue to see, sort of a strong GPA number from our admitted engineers. In order to be admitted to the School of Engineering, students need to have chemistry, physics, and pre-calculus in high school. Calculus is recommended, it's not required, but frankly, to be competitive, I would have calculus. About 70% of the applicants who are admitted do. And just in terms of what the freshmen look like in terms of courses that they've taken, even though we don't require that students have had AP scores, a typical engineer who comes to Rutgers, about 70% of them have earned AP credit with scores of 4 or 5 on exams. So the way this works for choosing a major in engineering is the freshman comes in and is admitted first to the School of Engineering. And then over the course of the freshman year, they're exploring each of those 10 different majors through an introduction to engineering class. So that first semester is really sort of learning what it is to be an engineer, getting a little taste for what each of the different disciplines is about. And then at the conclusion of the second semester, that's when the student chooses the major. So you're already in the School of Engineering. It's simply a matter of educating yourself, and at the end of your first year, picking the major that you want. So you could look at it this way. You have 100% placement into your first choice engineering major at the end of your first year. And here's highlights of just a couple different engineering majors, not time to talk about all 10 of them, unfortunately. We do have aerospace engineering. It's a small program. It's only got about 50 students. And aerospace engineering, for those of you who are interested in it, also have noticed it's not available everywhere. We're one of about 60 programs in the United States. We have a program called environmental engineering, also another fairly small program. It's got about 80 students. This is an interesting one. It's a 5-year program. So for those of you that are interested in engineering, but perhaps with sort of an environmental influence or an environmental consciousness sort of hat on, you could earn 2 degrees, one in engineering and one from the School of Environmental Biological Sciences, and you're graduating with 2 degrees in 5 years. We offer biomedical engineering, very strong major at Rutgers. It's got about 350 students. Those biomedical engineers that take organic chemistry are automatically fulfilling all the requirements to go on to medical school. So yes, biomedical engineering is a common sort of path for those that want to go take the pre-med route. Electrical computer engineering is our largest engineering major at Rutgers. It's got 844 students. And when you declare that major, you're going to choose which track you want to go down. Do you want to go down the electrical track, or do you want to go down the computer engineering track? And then last but not least, this is kind of a fun one. It is a program called packaging engineering. So this is a concentration that's available within our applied sciences engineering major. Every single student in the packaging engineering concentration will do a co-op. And perhaps not surprisingly, every single one of those students also has a job upon graduation. Okay, onward to computer science. Fastest growing major at Rutgers, just like it's the fastest growing major at a lot of other universities. It's a very large program at our school. Again, it's got about 1,200 students, roughly 435 or so every year are saying, I'm going to be a computer scientist. And about 60 other students choose computer science as a minor. So remember before when I was saying that engineers, for example, could declare a minor from other schools. So computer science is an example of a minor that an engineer might wish to declare, particularly if they're a computer engineer or something along those lines. Anyway, so our School of Computer Science is housed in our School of Arts and Sciences. So it's not in the School of Engineering. And again, consistent with our model of admitting by school, to be a computer science major, you are first admitted to the School of Arts and Sciences. And I'm showing those middle 50 statistics that we spoke of before. Here they are for last year. And then we'll talk in a minute about what it takes to choose a computer science major. So some nice things to know about computer scientists, not surprisingly, their placement rate upon graduation is very strong. It's also a very well-regarded program at our school. Okay, so again, screenshot time for those of you who are interested in becoming computer scientists at Rutgers. You're admitted to school arts and science as a freshman. At that point, you don't have a major declared yet, but you do need to take 5 prerequisite classes and get a grade of C or better in order to become a computer science major. When you declare that major, it'll be up to you to decide if you want to be a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts. Just to step back for a second, those prerequisite courses are 2 calculus and 3 computer science, and they're specifically outlined, but you get the idea. So again, having chosen to become a computer scientist, know that there are different types of tracks or course specializations available. And a few of those tracks I show here: computer security, software engineering and information management, artificial intelligence, cognitive science. So you heard me say that we offer a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. So you're saying, well, what's the difference? So know that in terms of the end game for that computer science student, we're not seeing much of a difference in terms of outcomes for jobs. Our BAs and our BSs are doing every bit as, very comparably in terms of the job market. But in terms of the student experience, the Bachelor of Arts is going to have more sort of wiggle room in terms of your course choices. If you want a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, you will find sort of fewer electives are going to be available to you because you have to take 2 more computer science classes in a sequence of more physics and math. I got a quick little note here about data science, just because I find that the computer science students sometimes ask about data science and it's not clear, if the majors are the same or if they overlap or what. So the thing to know about Rutgers is we don't have data science as a major for undergraduates. If you're a computer scientist, we do have 5 different course electives in data science that you can take. And we also have a minor in our information technology and information, which is another school, in our School of Communications, that's got 4 required courses if you want to be a data scientist. So there are ways to get at getting that experience without, again, having a major that's called that. And for the really dedicated, most of the time when people at Rutgers are talking about data science, it's a graduate level program. For us, it's offered by Computer Science and Statistics, just in case you're thinking ahead. Okay, so I'm getting near the end of the presentation. I just want to talk about a couple of majors that everyone doesn't think of as being STEM majors, and they're kind of unusual, maybe not offered everywhere, but I like to talk about them just to kind of broaden horizons a little bit. So the first one, it's called Business Analytics and Information Technology. So this major is in the Rutgers Business School. And if you're that sort of person who you're interested in technology, but you don't really see yourself doing systems development, or perhaps you're not all that interested in being a programmer, know that this is a great major if you're that person who's interested in the strategy of how technology is used to plan a business, develop business strategy, make business decisions. That's a good major for you in our business school, Business Analytics, Information Technology. Now, before, when I was talking about data science, I mentioned this major in information technology and informatics. That's in our School of Communications. And this is a wonderful major for that person who enjoys and is good at working as a go-between between say a customer group or an end user community and a technical community. So back in the day, 20, 25 years ago, they might have called this person a systems liaison. That's somewhat obsolete terminology, but it's somebody that sort of can speak both languages, so to speak, right? They can talk product and functionality with an end user, and they can also, speak eloquently with technical development people and help to do project management, things like that. So again, for those of you that kind of see yourself in that sort of role, that could be a really great choice for you. Cognitive science is a major in our School of Arts and Sciences. It sprung off from psychology as its own major about 2 or 3 years ago. And It is what we call an interdisciplinary major because it draws from a lot of different influences. So there's a little bit of computer science in it. There's a little bit of linguistics. This is a great major for that person who's sort of interested in how the mind works and perhaps how the mind works from a quantitative perspective. If you're intrigued by things like how does language acquisition work and studies like that, look into cognitive science. And last but not least, we have a major called food science in our School of Environmental Biological Sciences. This is everything about the growth and production of food. It's all about food right up to the point of swallowing is how it's been explained to me. And this is a great way to get involved in the food industry. Learn more about what you're putting in your mouth, if nothing else. Little humorous side note here. Cheese Whiz was originally developed in the 50s by students who were in the precursor to what is now the food science major. So just think of the things you could do. And now I am at the end of my prepared presentation, and I just wanted to share this slide. Again, this is contact information for myself. I'm Sue Chapman. And for my colleague helping me today, Maria Sandone. Feel free to take a screenshot of that. And then I'm going to quit out of, just doing my share here. I thought I was going, oh, hold on, stop share, there we go. And now we'll take your questions. Facilitator, can you help me? I don't seem to be stuck. There we go, perfect.
Sue, I left some questions up there for you to answer live.
Oh, okay. Ma'am. So just give me a moment, folks, to kind of read through, see where we're at here. Yes, so not knowing how much the audience can see of questions that are asking me, basically it's a question about the ability to double major in engineering and computer science. Yes, engineers can double major. Most often when they double major, it is something from the School of Arts and Sciences, like computer science, so that is indeed doable, or computer science as a minor is another alternative. So yes, a student can do that, yes. Is a dual degree BS engineering with an MS in data science possible? I do not know the answer to that question, but if you, the person asking would be so kind as to email me and just sort of prompt me with your question, I can look into that for you. It would be my pleasure. Is Rutgers optional for standardized tests? And if so, does that place a higher importance on high school GPA or extracurriculars? We are going to be test optional for students entering in fall of 2022. And we've done a lot of work this year, which is the first year in which we became test optional, to sort of update our metrics and our holistic process to review those applicants who don't submit scores. So yes, it would, by the process of taking the test score out of the mix, it would put higher emphasis on what remains as part of the application. So the one amendment I would offer is that we've always been very much about the student's academic record, and not just the GPA, but the makeup of the courses and the pattern of grade improvement, stuff like that's very important to us. And the extracurriculars and quality essay and such as holistic considerations are still valuable, but we're still going to be very much about the academic record and always have been. Average GPA and test scores to go into pre-med. So thank you for asking this question, because it occurs to me, I didn't really explain this, but I will now. So pre-medicine at Rutgers isn't a major, it's an advising track. So a student can actually be in any major at Rutgers and put themselves into an advising track for pre-medicine, because in order to go to medical school, you don't have to have taken a particular major. You just need to ensure that you've taken certain prerequisite courses. Now, certainly, I think most students who go on to medical school are probably studying something in the health sciences, but you don't have to, right? As long as you take those courses that you need, like organic chemistry and such. So to back answer the question, there is no measure for minimum GPA. Do we have the ability, facilitator, to post a profile? Because if we do, I could do that, but I would hark back to that School of Arts and Sciences profile that I showed earlier. That's where 66% of our students come in, to kind of give you a sense of sort of typical admission at Rutgers. If you were to come into engineering, the rungs are going to be a little bit higher, but that's sort of the middle 50 that were admitted last time. And yes, certainly we offer merit scholarships. Any student who applies by December 1st of their senior year is automatically considered for merit scholarships and honors opportunities. Yes. And those awards historically have been anywhere between $10,000 and about $25,000. We're sort of still in the kind of wrapping up our process for admitting students this year, so I can't. It's difficult for me to quote scholarship statistics for this year, but yes, merit scholarships are very much available. When looking for applicants for engineering school, do you prefer candidates with AP Science and Math classes? Or honors and college prep classes enough? So we don't sort of require AP level courses. Now, the nice thing about AP Science and Math classes is that if the student, so there's two pieces to this. There's being admitted, and then there's getting course credit after you're admitted. So if a student has done well in AP courses and gets a 4 or 5 in the exam, those 4 or 5 test scores can help earn them course credit once they've come to Rutgers. It doesn't necessarily need to have been an AP course on the way coming in on the application, but we do appreciate the rigor of an AP course, just like we would an honors course or a community college course, in terms of sort of a mental bump, if you will, in terms of creating a weighted GPA. So they're not required, certainly, but it is helpful. If a student can do well in those courses, it's great. No open questions. Anything else, audience? These have been great questions.
As people are submitting those questions, I know one that often many people have questions about is, or anything you could offer, like what advice would you give someone who is applying or going through the college search process?
Advice I would give to students is to, plan ahead, pace yourself. It's lovely to be able to also give yourself an ample opportunity to learn about different colleges that are interesting to you through doing online research. Now in COVID times, so much that's required, but as things are starting to thaw a little bit and you're able to get back out there in person, to the extent you can go see universities in person, that's wonderful to give you the experience of being physically on the college campus. And there's a question, are we able to do in-person tours? So we haven't been able to reopen for our escorted tourists, but you are welcome to visit campus on your own and either drive around or walk around, just to be sure to wear a face mask and know that our buildings will not be accessible to you, but you will certainly be able to get a good sense of the site. Estimated out-of-state tuition charges. This is where it's handy to be able to post them for you, but I'll just do a little quick quote here. So current year cost in that School of Arts and Sciences, because the fees do vary a little bit by school. So an out-of-state student is looking at tuition of about $29,000, and with the cost of living on campus and such, a total of a little over $45,000. And that's again for this current year. We do have a few more minutes, so if anything's on your mind, please ask. Happy to answer questions. I'm being asked what clubs or organizations are available. And I'm kind of smiling at you because we have over 750 different ones. So it kind of depends what your interests are. If you care to follow up with something more specific, that would be terrific. But there's a wide range of cultural, political, athletic, you name it, really. I think the challenge isn't going to be like to find something to do. It's more to narrow it down. So here, question, if you start in arts and sciences and decide you want engineering or business, how difficult is it to transfer into engineering or business? So it is possible to transfer from the School of Arts and Sciences into one of our professional schools. Just know that upon transferring, the incoming school, the school that be looking to take you, will have certain requirements about what courses they want to see and what grades they want to see in those courses. But it is possible.
I'll just ask a question until someone has anything else they want to mention. If you don't mind just sharing a favorite event or tradition about Rutgers University, New Brunswick, that you truly enjoy, or most students enjoy.
I kind of choose the silly ones because that's sort of my personality. There's an annual event mainly through our Greek students, the students who are in fraternities and sororities, which by the way is only about 12% of Rutgers students. That's not a huge phenomenon. But every year they have something called the bed races. So imagine, if you will, a twin bed on wheels made up like a float. And these men and students in ridiculous costumes racing with these beds on wheels up and down College Avenue, competing for fame and prizes. That's a fun tradition. And like I said, it's silly, it's fun. Oh, here's a serious question for us. Can you take classes in the business or engineering school if you're in arts and sciences? Excellent question. For engineering, no. The only way you can take any classes in engineering is to be an engineer. That's kind of why I hinted earlier when I said there's no engineering minors. So it's just no. In the business school, there's a minor available to non-business students that's called business administration. And that is the only path available to non-business students. So for students who may be at all on the fence about what they think they want to study at Rutgers, my general words of advice, because I was asked earlier about words of advice, certainly in terms of Rutgers in particular, I would encourage you to take advantage of your ability to apply to up to 3 different schools, because your 3 different areas of interest when you're in the fall of your senior year, you have all the way until May of your senior year, assuming you accepted all your choices, to decide what you ultimately want to study. So that gives you some alternatives. And also, it also can kind of protect you a little bit in case, let's say, we can't admit you to one of the professional schools because the admission rung is a little bit higher, more competitive. You still could be very competitive and admitted to the School of Arts and Sciences and still be able to come to Rutgers, even if you can't be admitted to business school. So it's wise to apply broadly, and it's wise to apply to sort of across different schools as well. Could I talk a little bit more about aerospace engineering? I'd be happy to, if you would like to email me, I would be happy to send. I don't have sort of a way to get you links and things, but I do have that information. So do I have a way to chat you my email address? I could do that. s.chapman@admissions.rutgers.edu. And I'll get that to you.
There, as other, oh,
Sorry, I realized I'm muted. Anyone who typed a question in the chat, I also, well, while Sue was talking, I sent you all like links to the specific topics. And in some cases, I also included Sue's email address. So feel free to check the Q&A. If you did ask a question and you haven't seen the answer that I typed to you yet, there's links for you to check out for more information.
Thank you, Maria.
and I just have one more question. Maybe it would be helpful for those who are still on before we close out. Do you have an interesting or fun fact to share about the school that no one may know?
I'm smiling because I always have these goofy ones. Okay, so 5 years ago, Rutgers microbiology students disproved the 5-second rule. Right? We all know what that one is, right? This is the one where, you know, if you drop a piece of food on the pavement and you pick it up and eat it in 5 seconds, are you safe or not? And we learned that no, in fact, you know, these materials are polluted very quickly, no matter what surface you drop them on. In fact, it isn't even improved if you leave it only 2 seconds. So by no means, if you drop food on any surface, should you eat it. Right out of microbiology, people. You can't argue with research studies. Maria, if you have one, please share it. I'm just sharing the goofy ones.
A fun fact?
Sure.
Is that the question?
Sure.
No, the fun fact is that the very first college football game ever was played on our campus in 1869. I know most STEM students are really into football, so that's a fun fact, I think.
And our basketball team is really hot this year. I wish we could say the same of how football's been, but hey, you know, it's a work in process.
Awesome, thank you. If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and end. And I will share my
Excellent.
screen. Thank you. Again, just helping to facilitate. And so I hope those questions were helpful for everyone. And thank you to Sue and just all great information shared. So thank you so much. And the chat was a lot of questions being asked through the Q&A. And so thank you. We really appreciate it. And thank you to each of you for joining us. As we close, we do have a very quick 4-question survey that will appear on your browser. If you don't mind taking a moment to fill that out for us, we would greatly appreciate it. There are more sessions happening, so feel free to sign up for more sessions where you registered for this one. And lastly, this recording will be available tomorrow at strivescan.com/CACHET. Again, thank you all, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.